Hi, everyone. Welcome to our interview series of creative people, creative writers, helping other creative writers. I am your co-host, Beth Barani, alongside Gala Russ, and we'll be interviewing Romy in a moment. Hi, Romy. I just want to introduce myself so y'all can get to know me a little bit. As I said, I'm Beth Barani. I'm an award-winning science fiction and fantasy novelist. I have Henrietta the Dragon Slayer series, as well as Janie McAllister Mystery, Space Station Mystery Series. I'm also a book coach and writing teacher who helps science fiction and fantasy writers go from idea to publication with confidence and ease. And now I'm also helping other creative writers who want to build their businesses, who want to build profitable, sustainable businesses, serving other creatives so they can share their expertise with confidence while making a living doing what they love. So that's a little bit about me. Gala, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Gala Russ, and I'm the partner in this adventure of teaching people who want to be creative entrepreneurs how to do it and how to take the first step. And I started as a romance author. I have almost 10 books published. And at this point, I'm also a book coach and a self-publishing strategist, I call myself, where I've struggled so much at the very beginning when I was writing the books and then I was figuring out how to publish it. It took so much longer than it could have. And then I now try to help people to go through that journey in a faster way and that is more custom to them. Because everybody's life is different, everybody's goals are different, so that you have a little bit more custom advice to your particular journey as you build it. And now hopefully helping people who want to become creative entrepreneurs build their journey and start up on their journey as well.
Yes, thank you. And Romy, welcome to our interview series, and tell us a little bit about you and what you do and how you help.
So my name is Romy Sommer, and I am, like Gala, I'm a romance author. I live in Johannesburg, South Africa, so I'm way down south, and as you can see, I'm in long sleeves. It's wintertime here. I have 7 books traditionally published through HarperCollins London and another 8 that I've self-published under both my own name and a pen name. And I originally started in the film industry many years ago. I went to film school, worked in TV commercials for a while after working in TV dramas for a bit. And what I really found that I wanted to do was tell stories. And it was only when I started writing that I discovered that. And it took me a very long time, lots of mistakes along the way. And along the way, because I live in South Africa, we're a very lonely little community. At the time, I felt like I was the only romance writer in the country. And I slowly started connecting with people, and we eventually founded an organization called Romance Writers Organization of South Africa. And it was through that organization that I started mentoring beginner writers, aspiring writers, and hopefully trying to get them to not make all the mistakes I'd made along the way. And that eventually morphed into a full-time career as a writing coach and an editor. And that's where I am today.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I love that. Sounds so organic. So currently, how do you serve writers? What are the services or products that make up the core of your business right now?
Well, I am a partner in an organization called Gemini Writers Studio. So it's 3 of us working together. And we are all editors and also coaches. We each have our sort of area of specialization, but the biggest program we run is our flagship course, which is an 8-month program that walks people through the self-editing process. So we hold their hand we do group coaching. We have weekly meetings plus the course, and we walk them through first reverse outlining and then developmental editing, and then finally copy editing and into getting feedback, etc. So it's the whole gamut. We do also have recorded masterclasses and a community, but really the Rough to Revised program is our sort of flagship course, and we're very proud of it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love what you call it, rough to revise. That's lovely. So alliterative. I do something similar for specifically science fiction and fantasy authors, helping them go from first draft to publication. So is there a specialty in genre with your program?
We tend to focus on genre fiction, but between us, we run the gamut of romance, cozy mystery, a little bit of sci-fi, quite a bit of fantasy. Really, the only things that we don't touch are things like poetry, memoir, and mostly nonfiction, and also literary fiction. But other than that, between the three of us, we cover most genres.
That's so wonderful. And such a breadth of know-how, it sounds like, in Gemini Writers Studio. That's so great. Gala, do you have something to add? Or
I have sort of an observation and a question. When I meet people who haven't necessarily written a book or finished or just started, a lot of times one of the things we discuss is the fact that their first draft is a first draft. And one of the blocks that I have seen a lot of people have who do not finish or do not continue is they start and they say, oh, I'm a horrible writer, because they're going to compare the first rough draft to the published works that they're reading. And even though they can't pinpoint exactly what the difference is, they're saying, well, I'm not that. I suck as a writer. And explaining, I have a course where I talk about editing, because once you finish the rough draft, there's so many steps to the editing process. And to get to that on the shelf book experience and quality, right? So much has to happen. And I don't think it's popularized. People think of editing as if it's just a spell check. And then when they see this, and there's like, even if I finish my first draft or I'm in the middle, even if I run this through the spell check, it's not going to be nowhere near what I see and what I read, and giving the people the knowledge that, well, it isn't, you're missing so many steps. So I think the program like that is so cool and instrumental to show people that you have a journey after you finished your first draft before you get to the publication part. And that also takes time. So I'm also glad to hear that it's so that was my observation. And my question is, what do you cover in that? It's not just about the craft part, right? I'm assuming that there are other components of what a person needs to be proficient in, because again, it takes so long to self-edit and to edit. I'm going to stop here. It's a long question.
Yeah, so a lot of it is based in craft because that is our main focus. But we do have several modules towards the end on, writing things like your book blurb and your bio and a query letter if you're going traditional. The differences, we sort of cover the differences between traditional and self-publishing. What we don't do is take them the next step. We're not helping them self-publish. I know that there are a lot of people who are much better qualified than we are to do that. But so we focus very much on the craft, but we take them through from that, exactly what you said. I always think of writing as much like mining for diamonds. If you've ever seen a diamond that comes right out of the dirt, it literally still has dirt on it, and it's rough, and it's just a chunk of nothing. And it's not something you're going to go and proudly wear as a piece of jewelry. But it then gets cleaned up and it gets cut by specialists who shape it, and they get all the carats and they make it look beautiful, and then they set it into a piece of jewelry. And for me, that's the writing process. That first draft is just that rough, pulled out of the earth diamond. Then we're going to self-edit it. We're going to polish it up. But then we're going to hand it over, hopefully, to a professional editor who is going to be the one who sets it in the piece of jewelry. They're going to turn it into a ring with a beautiful band or a necklace or something. So it's a collaborative process, and we're all in it together. But no, it's never going to be perfect. You're not going to pull the ready-made diamond ring out of the dirt.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love
metaphor, right? I'm going to steal that metaphor. Hopefully I'm having give you the permission, because that diamond is.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Gala, why don't you ask our next question?
Perfect. The next question we had for you was, what systems and habits help you maintain balance and avoid burnout? Because you're also a writer and you have your business, and I'm sure you have a life outside of all of that. What are the tips and tricks?
I wish I could say that I have it down to fine art and I've got that balance, but it took me hitting burnout a few years ago. As I said at the beginning, I used to work in TV commercial production, and it was crazy long hours. I have no idea how I managed to have young kids and write books through all of that. And I did eventually hit burnout, and it's taken me a lot of self-care to get to the place where I am now. And now it's like, it's wonderful. I'm in control of my own time. But a lot of that is I have to prioritize self-care. So I actually have a to-do list every single day. I'm finally using some of my beautiful notebooks. I'm sure all writers are like this. We collect these lovely notebooks and then we never want to write in them. I finally started writing them and I have a list per day. And I've worked out that I can only do maximum 15 checklist items in a day. Beyond that, I'm just going to be carrying things over from one day to the next. So I try to firstly just control what I can actually do in a day and monitor that and not expect too much of myself. The next thing is the first 8 items on that list are all things that are for me, my self-care. Pretty much half of the list is self-care. And it's things like, have you drunk X number of glasses of water? Have you done exercise? Have you gone outdoors and got the sun on your face for a little bit? Doing my Duolingo lesson because I'm, trying to do stuff for myself. So those are the first sort of 8 things. They're all self-care. And then comes the work things. And again, if I have a meeting or a Zoom call with a client, that goes on the list. And then around that, I work out what time do I have. So I've also worked out, and this is where I think it's very important to know how your own brain works and how your own system works. So I know I have ADHD. When I get stuck into something, I get hyper-focused and I want to do nothing but that. So I will only write then on a day where I know that I'm going to not have client meetings interrupting, and I can really get into it and focus on it because then I'm up and running. I know a lot of people say, and I do, I've said this to clients as well, just 20 to 30 minutes a day. And that's great if if you're in a full-time job and you only have that time, then you make use of it. But I find for my own brain, at the end of the 20 minutes, I'm now just getting up and running and I'm not really getting into it. So I think the first thing is to obviously understand what your time limitations are, what time you have, and don't overschedule yourself. And the next thing is to understand what works for you. I have a client who only writes on Saturdays because that's where she can commit an entire day to writing. And that works for her. And I'm not going to be one of those people who says, oh, you have to write every day, because knowing that you have a full-time job, I know that that's not possible, but she's doing the best she can and she's actually making wonderful progress. So yep, those would be my hints.
Yeah. As a fellow ADHDer, I totally relate. I have my little timer, and for me, the 20-minute rule is I put 20 minutes on when I'm like, I need to write. I have the time to write, but I'm like not in the right mind space. So I put the 20-minute on, and usually by the end of 20 minutes, I get into the right mind, whatever space. But this is, knowing yourself and prioritizing that. And what works for you sounds so reasonable. And then somehow, it's so hard to actually implement somehow,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I love that the top of your list is all for you. And as one of our other speakers also said, it's like if you don't feed yourself, if you don't support your own wellness, then how can you help others? And you're such a great example for that. So if there's somebody listening, for anyone who's listening and wants to take one small, meaningful step toward starting their own creative business as a creative who helps other creative people, where would you suggest that they begin?
Just start. You can, it's a lot like writing. You can go and study and do all the courses and learn all the craft and learn how to be a coach or learn how to be an editor. But I find there are some people who get stuck in the learning cycle. And I think that the biggest thing for both writers and for people setting up a small business is just start. The way I started was originally just critiquing for critique partners, which then grew. It's actually, I don't know if you ladies remember, but a very long time ago, an author called Brenda Novak used to run an annual auction to raise money for diabetes research. And people donated books and lunch meetings with authors. And I'm sitting here in South Africa and thinking, what can I send? Postage costs a huge amount from here. The one thing I can offer is to do free edits for people. And that was what got me started. It was just having an amazing experience with somebody who turned around and said, that was so worthwhile. I'm so glad I bid on you. And she kickstarted this whole new career. So just get started. And yes, you're probably not going to be charging people a lot of money, or if anything at all, but you're going to get that experience. You're going to hopefully get a boost to your confidence because you're going to see that you're actually helping someone. And then it just snowballs from there. But you just have to get started.
I love that so much. And Brenda Novak is here in California. I too would offer coaching services through her wonderful fundraiser. And I love that. And starting with your peers, being in critique group, and getting some experience and getting into action. I love that. I've noticed a trend so far. I don't know if you have noticed, Gala, like all the creative entrepreneurs we've talked to so far, and you're our fourth person already, and we have 10 to go today, that there's a bias towards action. And that's beautiful. And it shows a willingness to just put your feet in the water. If not, you're not jumping into the deep end of the pool, to use the swimming metaphor. You're starting. You're putting one foot in, one foot in, one foot in. And I just love that you're doing that. And so that step, taking one step after another, and it gotten you to where you are today.
Absolutely, yes. It's been a long journey with lots of twists and turns along the way, and lots of unexpected. Exactly. But it's been wonderful, every moment of it.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I love that. And I love that you're in South Africa. And so we'll be putting, how people can reach you. And you're the Gemini Writers Studio. Is that international?
It is. My two business partners are both in Denver, Colorado. So we cover quite a lot of time zones between us, as well as different skill sets. Yes, we have clients from Europe, very few from South Africa. Most of our clients are actually in the US and Canada. So yes, we very international.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And I just want to thank you so much, Romy. And as we wrap up today, I'm just going to throw it back to Gala, see if she has any last comments before we end.
Yeah, I think when you were talking about actually doing it, I was like, yes, because when Beth and I came up with the idea of the apprenticeship, and we're calling it an apprenticeship, it's not a lecture course, it's not a class, it's an apprenticeship, because the difference is we want you to actually take the steps. That's the goal of the program, is not to learn about how to take the steps or which steps to take, but actually take the steps while we are there with you, holding your hand and answering your questions and pushing or pulling or hugging or whatever is it that you need. Because the first thing in my mind is taking the step is the first step. So that was like so validating. I'm like, yeah. I'm so excited to meet you, and so thankful for having you today here, and we'll hopefully keep in touch.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.